Yo, Gotti might be standing on the edge of a storm right now. Word in the streets is the feds are quietly building a massive case, getting ready to drop an indictment that could tie him straight to young Dolph's motor. And the biggest smoke signal? It's rising right out of the same courtroom where Hernandez Goven's trial is already shaping up to flip Memphis upside down. Rumors are spreading that Goven may have already cut a deal, possibly pointing straight at Gotti and his brother Big Jook, who in a shocking twist turned up dead not long after those whispers hit. So the real question is, was Jook staying quiet all along just to keep Gotti's name out the fire? Think about it for a second. Gotti had everything lined up perfectly. The woman he chased for years, Angela Simmons, finally on his arm. CMG at the top of the charts with artists winning big. His career locked in like never before. Why would he risk throwing it all away over an old street beef from the past? If anything, it makes more sense that he'd want to tie off every loose end before it unraveled. And now, every eye in Memphis is locked on Goven's trial, a trial that's been dragged out and delayed more times than a half-finished mixtape. But this time it's official. August 18th, 2025. It's finally going down. And Goven isn't some small-time player in this mess. His staring down first-degree murder, conspiracy, and even attempted homicide charges tied to the 2021 hit on Dolph. But here's the part that's got everybody raising eyebrows. Judge Jennifer Mitchell sealed part of the case on July 29th. No public access, no rulings, no explanation, just straight silence. And silence in a high-profile murder case like this usually means only two things. Deals are being cut in the shadows, or some very big names are being protected from the flames. But here's the kicker. Out of all the men tied to this case, Hernandez Goven is the one walking free. He's out on bond, moving around the city like nothing happened, chilling on a $90,000 bond, even after breaking the rules. And when that bond got snatched, they handed it right back. Meanwhile, guys like Justin Johnson and Cornelius Smith are still locked up, struggling just to get legal scraps. That alone has people convinced Goven already gave the feds what they were after. Maybe he's dropping names. Names like Big Jook, maybe even Yo Gotti himself. Look at how the puzzle fits together. Court motion sealed shut, Goven magically back on bond, and a trial finally locked in with a key player free. That's not luck, that's strategy. And this trial could blow the Dolph case wide open all over again. If Gotti's name hits that courtroom, it could mark one of the most shocking falls Memphis rappers ever seen. Prosecutors are already saying Big Jook put $100,000 on Dolph's head, with Goven acting as a middleman to funnel the money and line up the shooters. Basically, Goven was a chessboard, Jook moved the pieces, and CMG might have been the whole game. But when the smoke cleared back in 2021, the shooters reportedly walked away with less than scraps, somewhere between $800 and $1,500. And that money? It came straight from Jook, not Gotti's own hand. Now everyone's asking the same thing. Was this a CMG finance hit, or did Jook run it solo without Gotti's blessing? Because if that money trail traces back to CMG, even through Jook, then Yo Gotti's empire isn't just in trouble. It's standing dead center in the Fed scope, waiting for the shot. This isn't rap beef anymore. It's full-on conspiracy territory, and it's only getting darker by the day. When Big Jook was killed in January 2024, it shook Memphis like an earthquake, and the timing couldn't have looked more suspicious. By then, Hernandez Goven was already sitting behind bars, and the whispers that he might flip were getting louder every single day. Then, out of nowhere, Jook gets taken out. Some swear it was Dolph's camp getting revenge, but plenty of others believe it was a clean-up job, erasing Jook before he could be used to bring bigger names down. And when you line that up with Goven's trial being sealed tight, him still out on bond, and Yo Gotti's dead silence on his own brother's murder, it starts to look less like mourning and more like strategy. In public, Gotti's been all smiles, stacking trophies, cutting big money deals, and showing off with Angela Simmons like nothing's wrong. But behind closed doors, the word is CMG has been moving differently, tightening up their circle, bracing for a storm they know is coming. Because if Goven steps into that courtroom and starts naming names, the next target isn't just anyone, it's Yo Gotti himself. And Gotti's name keeps floating up for one reason. The one man who could have taken the fall for him is gone. Big Jook wasn't just family. He was a money man, the logistics brain, the crucial link between CMG and the alleged shooters who ambushed young Dolph. His murder hit the city like a silent bomb. No suspects, No arrests, just a key street figure executed outside a restaurant, only hours after the family funeral. That wasn't random, that was surgical. And whether Jook was really flipping or not didn't even matter. The idea that he might was enough to put a bullseye on his back. What makes it all more suspicious is Gotti's reaction. No statement, no visible grief, just silence. And in the streets, silence screams louder than words. If Jook acted alone, if CMG wasn't tied in, you'd expect Gotti to speak out. But he didn't. Which leaves people asking the toughest question of all. Was this revenge? Or was it a cover-up? A last-ditch effort to shield Gotti with the Fed watching and the Dolph case heating up for round 2. Some believe taking Jook out was buying time. Time for Gotti to stack his defenses before the storm breaks. But Jook's death wasn't the only loss Gotti took. His love life crumbled, too. Not long after her man's brother was gunned down, Angela Simmons didn't slam the door. She just slipped away quietly. Then, on Angie Martinez's show, she made it official. She and Gotti were done. No drama, no headlines, just soft words about healing, growth, and it being her choice. But anyone paying attention could read between the lines. The timing alone said everything. Walking away weeks before Govan's trial, that wasn't coincidence. That was strategy. A clean exit to get out of the blast zone before it exploded. And now, with Angela gone, Gotti's more isolated than ever. No brother, no ride-or-die partner. Just mounting legal smoke and a trial closing in. But Angela wasn't the only one to vanish.
Angela Simmons, are you telling me right now you're in your single girl era again?
Yeah, I'm telling you that.
Black youngster has gone ghost, too. The same man who built his brand on trolling rivals, flashing stacks, and turning Instagram into a movie has gone completely silent. And that silence is louder than anything. For someone who was so vocal about Dolph, the fact that youngster isn't saying a word now feels strange. Unsettling even. In 2025, youngster's presence has almost disappeared, and fans and insiders are all asking the same thing. Why? Some say he's purposely laying low, maybe even under Gotti's orders, keeping his head down until Govan's trial passes. Others whisper its way deeper, that he might already be restricted legally or even sitting locked up in silence. And it's not just youngster. The whole CMG camp feels different. The energy is muted. No over-the-top flexing. No hyped-up shout-outs. Just quiet moves and a polished image, like they know the feds are watching. When you connect the dots, it doesn't look random. It looks calculated. The sealed court files. The sudden deaths. The disappearing acts. It's a classic federal playbook, unfolding right in front of Memphis. The silence isn't weakness, it's survival. Because when the feds are circling, the loudest thing you can do is say nothing at all. They always start at the bottom, the shooters. Then they climb up to the middleman, the money mover. And once the whole chain is mapped out and loyalty starts to break, they lock sights on the boss. Right now, every sign points straight at Yo Gotti as that final target. And the blueprint's already showing. Justin Johnson and Cornelius Smith, one of them cracked, giving up details about the promise bag and who called the shots. That's exactly the kind of leverage the feds love, turning a life sentence into a bargaining chip. And now, all eyes are locked on Hernandez Govan. If it's cooperating, the game changes overnight. Because the feds aren't just staring at the triggermen anymore. They are digging into who bankrolled, planned, and greenlit the whole move. If Govan really handed over text chains, payment logs, or Cash App receipts tracing back to CMG, that's straight-up RICO territory. The second prosecutors proved the Dolph hit was financed, organized, and executed through a structured crew. It turns into a criminal enterprise. That pressure is mounting by the day, and every thread points back to the same flashpoint. Young Dolph's brazen daylight murder at Makita's Cookies in 2021. What once looked like a street beef is unraveling into something colder, calculated, and far bigger. And if those dots connect, this won't just stay in Memphis. It becomes a full-blown federal RICO strike reaching from the shooters all the way up to the CMG bosses. If that happens, Gotti's name doesn't just come up. It hits the indictment in bold print. That kind of paperwork would send shockwaves through the entire hip-hop industry. And even without official charges, Gotti's moves are already lining up like a man preparing for the hit. This isn't just silence online. He's removing himself completely. The same artist who once flexed as the face of Memphis, flooding red carpets and festival stages, is now sliding in shadows. That type of retreat only happens when heavy federal plays are moving in the background, and you can see the cracks forming in his circle. Big Jook, murdered in broad daylight as whispers of flipping grew louder. Black youngster, suddenly vanishing off social media with no trace. Angela Simmons, walking away right before Govan's trial date dropped. These aren't coincidences. They look like fallout. And here's where it gets dangerous. Cornelius already testified Jook offered $100,000 for Dolph's head. Govan? He's pegged as a connector, the link between the shooters and the cash. But here's the kicker. That full payout never hit. The gunman only walked away with scraps. And in the streets, broken money leads a broken silence. Now think about it. Out of everyone tied up in this case, Govan is the only one who's not either sitting in a cell or 6 feet deep. That screams one thing. He handed the Fed something they valued. And in a murder-for-hire setup, you don't need to pull the trigger to go down. If you funded it, planned it, or even looked the other way while your crew handled it, the law hits you with the same hammer. If Govan turned over coal logs, banking flips, or anything tracing back to CMG's accounts, that's all prosecutors need. Which makes this trial so dangerous, not for what's said in open court, but for what's buried in those sealed files. Because sealed cases don't protect the guilty, they protect active evidence. And the fact that Govan's motions are locked away from public view is a red flag. It screams someone bigger is being lined up next. And here's the kicker. This is classic federal playbook. Look at death row. BMF. YSL. It always starts with one body, then unravels into a criminal empire takedown. CMG checks every box. Business fronts, money flow, documented beef, and ties to violence. The Dolph hit is starting to look less like rap beef and more like a structured contract kill. That's the exact setup prosecutors use to flip a crew into a RICO case. And under RICO, Gotti doesn't need to text the shooters or send the bag himself. If they prove he knew the plan and let his network run it, the hammer lands just the same. If Gotti goes down, this isn't just a personal fall. It's a collapse of one of the South's strongest hip-hop machines. And make no mistake, the gears are already turning. The only question left is how hard the hammer hits. So make sure you like, subscribe, drop your thoughts in the comments, and share this with your people, because this storm is only getting started. See you on the next one.